Did you know business majors score higher on narcissism and Machiavellianism than almost anyone else on campus? But most of them have no idea. You probably think you picked your college major. But what if your major picked you? And what if your major is a mirror, and sometimes what it reflects back isn't flattering? Most of us like to believe we're in control of our choices, especially the big ones. But new research says your decision to study business, law, psychology, or any other field might reveal more about your mind and your hidden motives than you think. Are you drawn to power or to helping others? Are you as free as you think, or is your personality quietly steering your life, even before you fill out that first application? Here's the twist. Scientists have found that students in business and law are more likely to score higher on dark personality traits, like narcissism and Machiavellianism, while psychology students tend to be less Machiavellian, but not as different from other majors as you might expect. And the real driver. It's not just your personality, but your values, especially your desire for power and status. So, did you pick your major, or did your personality make the choice for you? If you're into stories that dig into human psychology and hidden motives, hit follow or subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. Today, we're breaking down the science behind academic choices, the dark and light sides of personality, and why your degree might say more about you than you realize. And by the end, you might just see your own story in a whole new light. Let's be real. Choosing a major isn't just about what classes you'll take. It's about your future job, your income, your friends, your identity. It's a decision that can shape your entire life. But what if the real reason you picked your path was hiding in your personality all along? Today, we're diving into a study from the University of Innsbruck that asked a simple but mind-bending question. Do dark and light personality traits actually predict what you study in college? And if so, what does that say about all of us? First, let's talk about what psychologists call the dark tetrad and the light triad. The dark tetrad is made up of 4 traits: narcissism, that grand sense of self-importance, the need to be admired; Machiavellianism, the master manipulator, always scheming, always thinking 3 moves ahead; psychopathy, thrill-seeking, callous, and emotionally cold everyday sadism. Yes, it's a thing getting pleasure from hurting or controlling others. On the flip side, the light triad is all about Kantianism, treating people as ends in themselves, not as tools. Humanism, believing in the dignity and worth of every person. Faith in humanity, the belief that people are fundamentally good. You might think these are just opposites, but the research says they're actually separate dimensions. You can be low on both, high on both, or anywhere in between. But what if your desire to help people is just a softer mask for control? Or what if your empathy is real, but you secretly enjoy having the moral high ground? So, what did the researchers do? They surveyed over 1,000 university students in Austria, asking about their personalities, their values, and most importantly, their majors. They looked at 3 groups: business and law students, psychology students, everyone else from biology to architecture to medicine. And here's where things get interesting. Business and law students, on average, scored higher on narcissism and Machiavellianism than students in psychology or other fields. They also scored higher on power values, meaning they cared more about status, control, and being in charge. Psychology students, they were lower on Machiavellianism than other majors, but not as different as you might expect on the other traits. In fact, when it came to narcissism, psychopathy, and sadism, psychology students were pretty much in the middle of the pack. And the light triad. Business and law students scored lower than everyone else. But again, the differences weren't as dramatic as you might think. So what's really going on here? The researchers dug deeper and found something fascinating. It wasn't just the dark traits themselves that predicted who chose business or law. It was the desire for power, the value you place on status, control, and influence. People high in narcissism and Machiavellianism were drawn to majors that promise power. People high in light triad traits, those who value kindness, dignity, and seeing the good in others, were less interested in power and less likely to choose business or law. But here's the kicker. Most psychology students weren't dramatically lighter than other majors. The real outliers were business and law students, who were more likely to be darker and more power-driven. Now you might be wondering, is this just a guy thing? Actually, the study found that male students did score higher on dark traits and lower on light traits than female students. But gender didn't change the main story. The differences between majors held up for both men and women. Here's a question that might mess with your head. Did these students pick their majors because of their personalities, or did their majors make them this way?
The researchers tried to answer this by looking at first-year students, people who hadn't yet been shaped by their field. The result? The personality differences were already there. So it looks like we really do self-select into majors that fit our values and traits. But that doesn't mean your major can't change you over time. The environment you choose can reinforce your tendencies or challenge them. So, what does all this mean for you, your friends, or your future? If you're in business or law, it doesn't mean you're a villain, but you might be more comfortable with competition, status, and taking charge. If you're in psychology, you might be a little less manipulative, but you're not automatically a saint. If you're in another field, you're probably somewhere in the middle. The real takeaway: your major is a mirror. It reflects not just your interests, but your values, your ambitions, and maybe even your hidden motives. Of course, no study is perfect. These were self-report surveys. People might not always be honest about their dark side. The study was done in Austria. Results might be different elsewhere. And personality is just one piece of the puzzle. Family, culture, opportunity, and luck all play a role. But the patterns are clear. Who you are shapes what you choose, and what you choose shapes who you become. So, did you really choose your major? Or did your personality and your values make the choice for you? Maybe it's both. Maybe the scariest part is realizing how much of our lives is shaped by things we barely notice. But here's the good news. Knowing yourself is the first step to making choices that actually fit you, not just on paper but in your heart. So next time you meet someone, don't just ask what they do. Ask why they chose it. You might learn more than you expect. What about you? Did your major fit your personality, or did you surprise yourself? Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And here's a challenge. Share this with a friend who picked a totally different major than you. See if the science fits them, or if they break the mold. And if you love stories that dig into the science of who we are and why we do what we do, hit subscribe and join the conversation. Because sometimes, what we chase is chasing something inside us.